Story disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction and is intended for entertainment purposes only. The content includes dark themes, horror elements, and fictional depictions of rituals and sacrifices that are purely imaginative and not reflective of any real-life practices or beliefs. Viewer discretion is advised. This video is not suitable for younger audiences, and parental guidance is recommended. The story does not endorse or promote any harmful behavior, violence, or dangerous activities. Please note that all characters, events, and settings are entirely fictional and created for the purpose of storytelling. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental. In this intense episode, Aisha and the villagers are pushed to their limits as they face wave after wave of darkness from the relentless cult. From battles under ominous new moons to whispered revelations of ancient secrets, each moment heightens the stakes. As they delve deeper into the history and motives of their enemies, the villagers forge stronger bonds and discover the true power of the heart, a force not just of magic, but of unity and hope. But the cult leaders' ominous threats echo in their minds, hinting that the greatest challenge is still to come. Will Aisha and her allies be able to withstand the storm that looms on the horizon? Stay tuned for a tale filled with magic, resilience, and the fight to protect their home from an ever-encroaching darkness. Aisha's heart raced as she felt the energy of the gathering storm swell around them. The villagers stood resolute, ready to confront whatever darkness awaited them. As they formed a protective circle around the heart, Aisha could feel its pulse synchronizing with their hearts, amplifying their strength. The shadows coalesced into a form, the cult leader emerging from the depths with a malevolent grin. "Did you really think you could defeat me so easily?" he taunted, his voice a dark echo through the village. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned a swarm of dark creatures, their eyes glinting with malice as they surged toward the villagers. "Tonight, you will witness the true power of the darkness. Stand your ground," Amina commanded, her voice steady and commanding. The villagers channeled their magic, creating a wall of light that held the creatures at bay. Aisha felt the energy of the heart coursing through her, urging her to take a stand. Kofi fought bravely at her side, his determination unwavering. "We will not back down. This is our home." The battle erupted into chaos, magic clashing against darkness as the villagers fought fiercely. Aisha could feel the heat of the conflict surrounding her, the air thick with tension and energy. But just as victory seemed within reach, the cult leader unleashed a surge of dark magic, shattering their defenses. The wall of light flickered and dimmed, sending a wave of panic through the villagers. "Regroup," Amina shouted, urgency in her voice. As they retreated, Aisha could see the despair in her friends' eyes. They had fought hard, but the darkness was relentless. It was as if the shadows were alive, feeding off their fear and doubt. Kofi gripped her hand tightly. "We can't give up. We have to find a way to turn the tide." Aisha nodded, her heart racing with determination. "We need to channel the heart's energy together. If we combine our magic, we can create a powerful force." With newfound resolve, the villagers gathered around the heart, each of them placing a hand on it, feeling its energy resonate through them. Aisha closed her eyes, focusing on the connection they shared. Together, she shouted, channeling the heart's energy into a brilliant beam of light. As the darkness swirled around them, the light cut through it, illuminating the village and pushing back against the shadows. The cult leader faltered, his expression shifting from confidence to disbelief. "No. This cannot be," he roared, struggling against the wave of light. The villagers stood united, their magic intertwining as they fueled the heart's energy. Aisha felt the warmth envelop them, banishing the cold grip of fear. With a final surge, they unleashed the light, a blinding force that shattered the darkness. The cult leader screamed, the shadows dissipating as he was engulfed by the radiance. As silence fell over the village, Aisha opened her eyes, breathless. They had done it, they had pushed back the darkness. But deep down, Aisha knew that this was only the beginning. The cult would return, and they would have to be ready to face them again. Together, we are stronger than the darkness, Amina said, a fierce glint in her eyes. As the villagers rallied around the hut, Aisha felt a sense of unity and determination. They would not let fear control them. They would fight for their home, for each other, and for the light that burned brightly within them. In the aftermath of their victory, Aisha and the villagers took time to heal and reflect on the battle they had just faced. The atmosphere in the village was filled with a mix of relief and tension, a fragile peace settling over them. Aisha felt a renewed sense of purpose as she trained alongside her friends, honing their magical skills and fortifying their defenses. But even as they prepared, a sense of foreboding lingered in the air. One evening, as they gathered around a fire, Amina shared her thoughts. The cult will return. We must be ready for their next move. Kofi nodded, his expression serious. We've seen their power. We can't underestimate them again. Aisha listened intently, the weight of their situation pressing down on her. We need to learn more about the cult and its dark magic. We can't fight what we don't understand. The following day, Aisha suggested they search for ancient texts or relics that could provide insight into the cult's origins. Amina agreed, and together they ventured into the village library, a dusty old building filled with forgotten knowledge. As they sifted through the shelves, Aisha felt a surge of excitement. They had to uncover the truth if they wanted to protect their home. After hours of searching, Amina discovered a tattered scroll hidden in a corner. "Look at this," she exclaimed, unrolling it carefully. The scroll contained ancient symbols and incantations, detailing rituals performed by the cult throughout history. Aisha's heart raced as she read about the cult's dark beginnings and their connection to the hut. "It says here that the cult was formed centuries ago to control the power of the hut," Amina said, her eyes widening. "They believed that by sacrificing others, they could amplify their magic." Kofi clenched his fists. "We can't let them do that again. We need to find a way to stop them once and for all." Determined to protect their village, Aisha proposed they gather the villagers to share their findings. As they assembled, she felt a sense of unity growing among them, a collective resolve to fight against the darkness. "Together, we have the power to protect the heart and our home," Aisha declared. "We must prepare for the cult's return and learn from our past mistakes." The villagers listened intently as Amina explained the scroll's contents, their expressions shifting from fear to determination. They began strategizing, discussing how to fortify their defenses and enhance their magical abilities. Days turned into weeks as they trained tirelessly, drawing strength from one another. Aisha felt the energy of the heart pulsing through her, guiding her every step. But as the days passed, she couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. One evening, as they practiced spells, Aisha noticed a flicker of shadow at the edge of the forest. Her heart raced as she alerted her friends. "Did you see that?" Kofi turned, eyes scanning the trees. "It could be a scout from the cult. We need to investigate." Amina nodded, her face serious. "Stay alert. We can't let them catch us off guard." As they crept toward the shadows, Aisha's heart pounded in her chest. They moved cautiously, feeling the air grow thick with tension. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the trees, cloaked in darkness. "Who dares to enter our territory?" the figure hissed, voice dripping with malice. Aisha stepped forward, her determination unwavering. "We will not let you harm our village." The figure chuckled, a sinister sound that sent chills down her spine. "You think you can stop us? The darkness is coming, and you are powerless to stop it." With a swift movement, the figure vanished into the shadows, leaving Aisha and her friends on high alert. "Something is brewing," Kofi murmured, eyes narrowed. "We need to prepare for their return." As they returned to the village, Aisha felt the weight of the impending storm. They were running out of time, and the darkness was closing in. "Stay strong," Amina urged the villagers. "We will face whatever comes together." Aisha nodded, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty. They would fight for their home, their family, and the light that had brought them together. Together, they would stand against the gathering storm. The days leading up to the anticipated return of the cult were fraught with tension. Aisha could feel it in the air, a thick haze of unease that wrapped around the village like a shroud. As they trained and fortified their defenses, Aisha found herself haunted by the words of the shadowy figure, "The darkness is coming." On the eve of the new moon, the villagers gathered around the hut, its glow casting a warm light that seemed to flicker in response to their anxious energy. Amina addressed the group, her voice steady despite the fear in their eyes. "Tonight, we stand together as one," she declared. "The darkness may come, but we will not falter. We must protect the heart at all costs." As the villagers nodded, Aisha felt a sense of unity coursing through them. They were ready to face whatever threat loomed on the horizon. Hours passed, the moon hanging low and heavy in the sky. As the night deepened, Aisha couldn't shake the feeling that something was approaching. Suddenly, the winds picked up, howling through the village, and the protective words around them flickered ominously. "Stay alert," Amina shouted as the villagers tightened their formation around the hut. From the depths of the forest, shadows began to emerge, swirling and coalescing into familiar forms. The cult members advanced, their faces obscured by dark cloaks, the air thick with their sinister energy. Aisha's heart raced as she recognized the cult leader among them, but twisted grin etched across his face. "Did you really think you could defeat us so easily?" he taunted, his voice echoing in the night. With a wave of his hand, he unleashed a torrent of darkness, a swirling mass that threatened to engulf the villagers. Amina raised her hands, channeling their combined magic into a barrier of light, but the force of the attack sent shockwaves through their defenses. "Hold strong," Aisha shouted, her voice ringing with determination. "We can't let them break us." The villagers channeled their magic, creating a radiant shield that flickered against the darkness. But the cult's dark magic was relentless, feeding off their fear and doubt. Kofi stood at Aisha's side, his expression fierce. "We must fight back. Use the heart's energy." As they focused their magic, Aisha could feel the heart's pulse resonating through them, its energy strengthening their resolve. They needed to push back against the tide of shadows, to reclaim their power. With a united shout, they unleashed a wave of light, crashing against the cult's dark magic. The forces collided, illuminating the night with a dazzling brilliance. But as the light pushed forward, Aisha realized the cult leader had a trick up his sleeve. With a flick of his wrist, he conjured dark tendrils that snaked through the air, reaching for the heart itself. "No!" Aisha cried, panic surging through her as she felt the threat to the heart's essence. Amina sensed it too, her face etched with urgency. "We have to protect the heart at all costs." With determination igniting within her, Aisha channeled her energy toward the heart, feeling its essence connect with her spirit. "We won't let you take it," she yelled, summoning the heart's power to counter the cult leader's attack. The light surged forth, a brilliant beacon against the encroaching shadows. Aisha could feel the darkness receding, but the cult leader laughed, his voice a chilling echo. "You cannot hope to stop the inevitable." As the battle raged on, Aisha felt the weight of her friend's determination bolstering her strength. They would not let fear control them. They would fight for their home, for the light that burned brightly within them. In a moment of clarity, Aisha saw a flicker of doubt in the cult leader's eyes. "He's not as strong as he thinks," she realized. "We just need to keep pushing back." With renewed resolve, the villagers unleashed their magic once more, creating a blinding wave of light that surged toward the cult leader. He faltered, his expression shifting from confidence to panic. "No. This cannot be," he shouted as the light engulfed him, illuminating the night. As silence fell over the village once more, Aisha opened her eyes, breathless but resolute. They had faced the darkness and pushed back, but Aisha knew this was just a temporary reprieve. They would have to stay vigilant, for the shadows would always return. Together we will stand against the veil of shadows, she vowed, determination igniting within her heart. They would protect the heart, their home, and each other, no matter what darkness lay ahead. The village was quiet, but the tension still hung thick in the air. Aisha could feel the heartbeat of the heart resonating beneath her feet, a comforting reminder of the light that stood against the darkness. But unease lurked in her mind. The cult had been pushed back, but their leader's last words echoed ominously. Together, we can uncover the truth, Amina said, her voice steady but laced with concern. We need to learn more about the cult and what they want with the heart. Aisha nodded, her mind racing. But how? We don't know much about them. Kofi stepped forward, determination gleaming in his eyes. We can visit the elders. They might know something about the cult's history. With their plan set, Aisha, Kofi, and Amina made their way to the elders' hut, a weathered structure filled with relics and stories of the past. The air was thick with incense, and the faint sound of drums echoed from the village square, marking the preparation for the night's gathering. Elder Oba greeted them with a knowing gaze. You've faced the darkness already, haven't you? He asked, his voice gravelly but kind. Yes, Aisha replied, her heart racing. The cult returned, and they want the heart. We need to know more about them. Elder Oba's eyes darkened, shadows flickering across his face. The cult was once a part of our village long ago. They were seekers of power, willing to make terrible sacrifices for it. They believed in dark magic that could bend reality to their will. Aisha's breath caught in her throat. What kind of sacrifices? Animals were used to channel their magic. They believed that by taking the essence of life, they could gain strength and control over the unseen forces. Elder Oba's gaze turned distant. But they were driven out when their hunger for power grew too great, leading to destruction. It seems they have returned, seeking the heart's energy to regain their strength. Amina frowned. But why now? The heart's power is growing. It senses the coming storm, Elder Oba warned. You must be prepared to protect it, for the cult will stop at nothing to seize it. The weight of his words settled heavily on Aisha's shoulders. What can we do? Elder Oba placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You must learn to harness the heart's energy. It will be your greatest weapon against the darkness. You must also uncover the cult's weaknesses. Their power lies in fear, and if you can expose their fears, you can defeat them. With newfound resolve, Aisha and her friends spent the day learning to connect with the heart, drawing on its energy to strengthen their own. The air crackled with magic as they practiced, and Aisha felt the warm light flow through her, wrapping around her like a protective cloak. As night fell, they gathered in the village square, where villagers were preparing for a ritual to honor the heart. The atmosphere was electric, filled with anticipation and hope. Aisha felt the pulse of the heart resonate with the villagers' spirits, binding them together in a protective shield of light. Tonight, we show the cult our strength, Amina announced, her voice steady. We will not be afraid. The villagers cheered, their voices rising like a wave of power. But just as Aisha began to feel a sense of safety, a chilling wind swept through the square. The drums faltered, and the air grew thick with darkness. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness. The cult leader stood before them, his grin twisted and menacing. Did you think you could hide from us? He sneered, his voice a cold whisper. You may have won a battle, but the war has just begun. The villagers gasped, fear flooding their faces. Aisha's heart raced as she stepped forward, determination igniting within her. We won't let you take the heart. You're nothing but a shadow. The cult leader's laughter echoed through the square, chilling Aisha to the bone. Shadows can be powerful, child. I will show you just how powerful. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned dark tendrils that snaked through the air, twisting and writhing as they reached for the villagers. Aisha felt the panic rise within her, but she remembered Elder Oba's words. They needed to stand together. Hold on to the light. Amina shouted, her voice cutting through the darkness. We can push him back. The villagers focused their energy, channeling the heart's warmth into a radiant barrier that pulsed with strength. Aisha felt the light coursing through her, igniting her spirit as she joined her friends in the battle against the shadows. With a roar, the villagers unleashed a surge of magic, clashing against the cult leader's dark tendrils. The two forces collided, illuminating the night with a fierce glow as they struggled for dominance. But as the battle raged on, Aisha could feel the darkness creeping into their hearts, feeding on their fears. She had to do something. We can't let him win. We have to show him our strength. With renewed determination, Aisha reached deep within herself, tapping into the heart's energy. Together, she shouted, feeling the warmth of her friends at her side. A wave of light erupted from the villagers, engulfing the darkness around them. The cult leader's expression shifted from arrogance to fear as the light surged forward, pushing the shadows back. In that moment, Aisha understood the true power of the heart. It wasn't just magic, it was hope. And as the darkness receded, she knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The villagers celebrated their victory, but Aisha felt a lingering sense of unease. The cult leader had retreated, but the war was far from over. They needed to prepare for what was coming, and she sensed a greater darkness lurking in the shadows. As the sun rose the next day, Aisha gathered with Amina and Kofi to discuss their next steps. We can't let our guard down. They'll come back, and we need to be ready, Aisha said, her voice steady. Kofi nodded, determination in his eyes. We should gather more information about the cult and their rituals. There must be something in the elders' records that can help us. With a plan in place, they ventured to the elders' hut once more. Elder Oba greeted them with a solemn expression. I see the weight of your journey has grown, he said, his voice heavy with understanding. What do you seek? We need to learn more about the cult's rituals and how to stop them, Amina replied. They are coming back, and we must be prepared. Elder Oba nodded, leading them to a dusty old book filled with ancient texts and illustrations. This holds the knowledge of our ancestors. It tells of the cult's practices, their weaknesses, and the magic they wield. As Aisha flipped through the pages, dark illustrations danced before her eyes. The images depicted rituals under the new moon, where shadows took form and sacrifices were made to appease the dark forces. Every time they attempt to summon their power, they risk losing themselves to it, Elder Oba explained. If you can disrupt their rituals, you can weaken their hold over the heart. Aisha felt a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. We need to find out when their next ritual is planned. If we can get to them before they summon their darkness, we might stand a chance. The elders provided guidance on how to track the cult's movements. They learned about signs in nature that would indicate when the cult was gathering, and a plan began to form. As the days passed, the tension in the village mounted. Aisha, Amina, and Kofi trained tirelessly, honing their magic and preparing for the inevitable confrontation. They would not be caught off guard again. One evening, while they practiced near the hut, Aisha noticed strange shadows fleeting among the trees. Her heart raced as she turned to her friends. Do you see that? Kofi squinted into the darkness. It looks like the cult is closer than we thought. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the shadows, chilling Aisha to her core. You think you can hide? We see you. The cult leader stepped forward, flanked by his followers, their eyes glowing with dark energy. You've meddled in affairs beyond your understanding. Now, you will pay the price. Aisha stepped forward, feeling the heart's energy surge within her. We won't let you take the heart. You have no power here. The cult leader laughed, a sound that sent shivers down her spine. You think you've won? Your light will only fuel the darkness. With a swift motion, he raised his arms, summoning dark tendrils that lashed out like serpents, ready to ensnare them. Aisha felt a wave of panic wash over her, but she remembered the power of unity. Stand together, Amina shouted, rallying the villagers around the hut. They channeled their energy into a protective barrier, glowing brightly against the encroaching darkness. As the tendrils struck the barrier, Aisha felt the impact reverberate through her. We can't let them break through. We must hold strong. With a fierce cry, Aisha drew on the heart's energy, focusing on the light that pulsed within her. We are stronger than your darkness. A surge of light erupted from the villagers, pushing against the tendrils as they fought to protect the hut. Aisha felt the warmth of her friends beside her, their determination fueling her resolve. But the cult leader was relentless, his laughter echoing as he commanded the shadows to grow stronger. You cannot defeat me. I will consume your light. Aisha's heart raced as she realized the stakes had never been higher. This was a battle for their very existence, and she wouldn't let the darkness win. She needed to find the source of the cult's power and sever it. Follow my lead, she called out, her voice firm. We can push them back. Together, they channeled their magic, weaving a tapestry of light that shimmered like a shield. Aisha could feel the energy building, and she focused on the heart, drawing its essence into their spell. With a burst of radiant light, the barrier expanded, forcing the shadows to retreat. The cult leader faltered, anger flashing in his eyes as he struggled against the onslaught of light. You think you've won? He spat, rage twisting his features. I will return, and next time, you will not be so lucky. With a final cry, he disappeared into the darkness, taking his followers with him. The villagers erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by the victory, but Aisha felt the weight of uncertainty settle in her chest. We did it, Amina said, her voice trembling with exhilaration. But we can't let our guard down. Kofi nodded. We must remain vigilant. The cult will return, and next time, we need to be ready. Aisha felt the pulse of the heart beneath her feet, a steady reminder of the strength that lay within. Together, they would protect their home, no matter the cost. As the days turned into weeks, the village buzzed with a mix of excitement and fear. The cult's presence lingered like a shadow, and Aisha could feel the tension rising. Rumors spread through the village, whispers of dark rituals and mysterious happenings in the surrounding woods. One evening, while gathering firewood with Kofi, Aisha noticed an unusual chill in the air. The trees seemed to whisper secrets, and the shadows flickered ominously as the sun dipped below the horizon. Something feels off, she said, glancing around. Do you feel it? Kofi nodded, his brow furrowed in concern. Yeah. It's like the air is charged with something dark. Just then, Amina approached, her face pale. You both need to come quickly. The elders have called for a meeting. They've received troubling news. The trio hurried to the village square, where a crowd had gathered around Elder Oba. The elder's face was etched with worry as he spoke. We have received reports of strange gatherings in the forest. The cult is planning something dangerous, and we must prepare. Aisha's heart raced. What are they planning? Elder Oba sighed deeply. They are trying to harness the heart's energy for their dark magic. We believe they are gathering for a ritual under the next new moon, and we must stop them before it's too late. The crowd murmured with fear, but Aisha felt a surge of determination. We need to confront them. If we can disrupt their ritual, we can weaken their power. Elder Oba nodded, his gaze steady. But it won't be easy. They will be at their strongest, and we must prepare for a fierce battle. With their resolve set, Aisha, Kofi, and Amina spent the following days training harder than ever. They honed their abilities, focusing on harnessing the heart's energy and channeling it into their magic. Each night, they gathered under the stars, practicing spells and forming strategies. On the night of the new moon, a thick fog rolled in, shrouding the village in darkness. The atmosphere felt charged, and Aisha could sense the presence of the cult nearby. "It's time," she said, her heart pounding. "We need to move." The trio joined a group of villagers as they ventured into the forest, armed with light and determination. The shadows grew thicker, wrapping around them like a shroud as they made their way deeper into the woods. As they approached a clearing, they saw the cult gathered around a flickering fire, their faces illuminated by the flames. The cult leader stood at the center, his voice a dark chant that echoed through the night. "We call upon the ancient powers," he bellowed, his eyes gleaming with madness. "Grant us strength. Allow us to consume the heart's light." Aisha's heart raced as she felt the pull of the heart resonating in her chest. "We can't let them finish the ritual," she shouted, rallying the villagers around her. With a surge of energy, Aisha led the charge into the clearing, the villagers following her with determination. "Together, we can stop them." The cult members stand in shock as Aisha unleashed a wave of light, pushing against the darkness that surrounded them. The cult leader snarled, his face twisting with rage. "You dare interrupt our power?" Amina stepped forward, her voice steady. "We will protect the heart. You cannot have it." The cult leader raised his arms, summoning tendrils of darkness that lashed out toward them. Aisha felt the darkness claw at her spirit, but she stood firm, drawing on the heart's energy. "Focus on the light," she shouted, feeling the warmth surge within her. The villagers formed a protective barrier around her, channeling their magic together. With a united cry, they pushed back against the tendrils, illuminating the night with a brilliant light. The cult members faltered, fear flickering across their faces. But the cult leader was relentless. "You think you can defeat us with mere light?" He gestured, and a wave of darkness surged forward, crashing against their barrier. Aisha felt the impact shake her to her core. The light wavered, and she could see the villagers struggling to hold the barrier against the dark force. "We can't let them break through. Hold strong." Drawing deeper from the heart's energy, Aisha pushed herself, channeling everything she had. Together, she cried, feeling the pulse of hope resonate among her friends. With a final surge, they unleashed a wave of light that crashed against the darkness, illuminating the clearing in a blinding flash. The cult leader screamed as the shadows recoiled, and the energy of the heart flooded through them, pushing the darkness away. But as the light enveloped the clearing, Aisha felt a surge of pain. Will the cult leader return? The cult leader's power was stronger than she anticipated, join us on our final episode. To maintain the barrier. We can't let him win. Keep fighting. With a final effort, Aisha gathered all her strength, and the villagers joined her, focusing their magic into one concentrated beam of light. The blast surged forward, colliding with the cult leader, who was thrown back, the darkness dissipating around him. As the last remnants of shadows melted away, the villagers erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by the victory. But Aisha felt a heavy weight in her heart. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The cult leader would return, and next time, he would come for them with a vengeance. Will the cult leader return? Let's find out. Join us on our final episode.